Hey everyone, this is Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 179 of Album of the Day. Which before I get into today's review, excuse me if my voice sounds a little different in this video than it normally does in my reviews. It's mostly because I am going through a bit of a winter cold right now, like sore throat and whatnot, and of course some coughing, but still gonna be able to do this review no matter what, or what. So anyway, let's get right to it. Today's band is a Philadelphia-based indie rock band that in the past few years or so has turned from a cult favorite into actually one of the most critically acclaimed and successful indie bands of the 2010s. This band was founded sometime around 2007 by singer-songwriters and multi-instrumentalists Adam Granduciel as well as Kurt Vile, but then eventually, after their first record, Kurt Vile left the band to pursue his own solo career. But since then, Adam Granduciel, with this band, has definitely gained some pretty good popularity off of their music. So I'm talking about the band known as The War on Drugs that I discovered back in 2014 with their breakout album, Lost in the Dream, and I thought it was an amazing record, definitely one of my top 5 from 2014. I've been excited for this album that I'm going to review today for a little while, so I'm finally now going to do my own review for it. So I'm going to review the latest album from The War on Drugs, which came out on August 25th this year. The album is called A Deeper Understanding, and as you can see, I was so excited for this album, had to get it on vinyl. Bought this at a local record store of mine in Annapolis called Ka-Chunk. It was just before just before my junior year of high school when this album came out. So I sort of have a connection to it in that sort of way. There's the front cover of the album, spine, and then there's the back of the album. It's double LP, which makes sense because it's a pretty long record, over an hour and 6 minutes long. Because this is one band that is not interested in doing short songs or anything like that. This is a band that kind of requires a bit of patience, but they really do deliver a lot of really cool stuff here on this album. Anyway, I always love me a gatefold. And here's the first LP sleeve, just photos from the studio, some liner notes, produced by Adam Granduciel himself, with some recording from Sean Everett, and a lot of really great studios this album was recorded at: East West, United, as well as Electric Lady, legendary recording studio in New York. There's side A, and then side B. And this is their major label debut for Atlantic Records, after being signed with Secretly Canadian for their last few records. And then there's the other vinyl sleeve. It basically mentions how the artwork was created and whatnot. Side C, and then side D. And it kind of makes sense. I'm wearing my Morning Jacket t-shirt for this video because this band definitely reminds me a little bit of my Morning Jacket, a little bit in the sense of they definitely, have a lot of like rock guitar solos and whatnot, but definitely at the same time very different, very original, which I like. There's a photo of Adam in the studio, and these are the lyrics over here, as well as the thank yous. So yeah, that's the vinyl packaging for the War on Drugs new record, A Deeper Understanding. Now, I would say kind of the best way to describe this album pretty much is just as you would, is pretty much all the things you would expect from the War on Drugs, but just with a little more kick to it. Kick to it. I'm not going to say it's better than Lost in the Dream. I will admit I still kind of prefer that record a little bit, but this is definitely one album I've definitely been listening to a lot in the last few months. I definitely have a pretty strong connection with it. And it definitely is an album that I think makes a lot more sense, if you're one that's, since I've spent a lot of time with Lost in the Dream for the last couple of years, this album definitely did seem like a good, step forward from that, pretty much. And I loved some of the teaser tracks that I heard from the album. Of course, the first teaser track that I had got to listen to from this album was Holding On, which I thought was an amazing track. I mean, I love all the nuanced layers of instrumentation. All the instruments on this song play a small but pretty pivotal role in the song. Love the bass and drum part on that song. Great rhythm section. A nice catchy slide guitar riff that kind of peels over the song, and then I'm also getting some cool unusual touches like glockenspiel, as well as kind of the whizzing synthesizers kind of buzzing in and out in the background. Definitely sounded really cool. Amazing guitar solos on the track, and I also love that part where it gets into that kind of brighter synth part. Just killer. And on this song, vocally, Adam Grundusiel sounds like even more kind of confident than he's ever been before, pretty much. The lyrics on this song sort of, and I think the entire record overall is kind of an album address, sort of trying to get a deeper understanding of this character, trying to gain a deeper understanding of who he really is and stuff like that, and how he wants to live his life and stuff like that. He's kind of conflicted in all these different situations, but still kind of trying to hold on to whatever will work for him, even if he's also wondering, lyrically in the song, was I holding on too long? I would say this is an album where I do really like the lyrics. I definitely do think they're very well written and smart and whatnot, and I like how they're kind of a mystery a little bit. But I feel this is a record where what really draws me in are the musical and production concepts going on here. On here. I feel that's really what keeps me engaged for the entirety of the album. Now I'm gonna go into more tracks in the actual album. It opens up really well with the song Up All Night, which opens up with this kind of chugging synth rhythm before coming in with this kind of spacey piano and drum groove. It has a bit of a Radiohead-esque kind of vibe to it. And I love how all the instrumentation builds. I really like the kind of metallic guitar solo in the middle of the track, and some kind of nice ethereal soundscapes from the synths, and some really cool sort of unexpected curveballs of instrumentation, like baritone sax as well as a Hammond organ appears very nicely on the song too. It has kind of a bit of an 80s, like almost David Bowie kind of vibe to it, which I really like. And then the lyric and the song. And like the song lyrically seems to be about like it seems to be about he's sort of reflecting on his past a little bit and how he's had like paranoia but he knew it would not last and like pinned it on this other person pretty much as well as kind of bringing in some lyrics that are more kind of shocking, like there's no way if I hold on, shots may ring through a lonely hall, but also concluding I've been up all night spinning round on the floor and it's not some feeling I can break. Following that though is one of my like absolute favorites on the record, which is the song Pain. I mean, the guitar solos, like, at the end of the song and, like, pretty much in the middle, just heaven to listen to. I mean, I'm gonna make a bold statement. This is, like, in my top 3 favorite songs on the album. And I also do really like the way the instrumentation sounds. It has kind of a sort of folkies. I love kind of the folky, jangly acoustic guitars on the song. Really cool use of Vibes and Celeste on here too. And also some really nice female backup vocals that appear at one point from the duo Lucius. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite tracks on the record. And I like how this song sort of, it's lyric. But yeah, like, definitely a great song, and I like how it's kind of a song sort of, kind of more getting to the gist of kind of what kind of the overarching subjects of the album are pretty much lyrically, even though this is probably an album where I'm going to talk more about the musical stuff than I will, like, the lyrics, pretty much. I really like the song Stranger Thing, definitely another one of the big highlights for me on this album. Once again, I love the layers of instrumentation, the harmonized electric guitars on the song, just sounds so incredible, and I feel that's the point where I'm really just like, I kind of have this feeling of like, yes, while I'm listening to it. And also, really cool guitar solo in the middle, too. And, of course, Adam Granduciel does give off a really confident vocal performance, which I really like. And I can kind of relate to the song a little bit, lyrically, with lines like, I recognize every face, but I ain't got everything I need. I'm only living in the space between the beauty and the pain. It's the strangest thing, because while things may be going well in life, it still kind of can feel a little bit like an in-between kind of thing that we all kind of have to go through. By far the shortest song on the entire album, and probably the closest that this album goes to like typical short song length, is the song Knocked Down, clocking in at just over 4 minutes, while a good chunk of the rest of the album clocks in at over 5, 6, 7 minutes. 7 minutes pretty much, which of course may intimidate casual listeners, but also kind of entice people like me that, don't mind being a little patient to find something good in the music. This song sort of talks about kind of the troubles of a relationship, of how you want to love someone but you still feel sort of knocked down by them because of what they could have possibly done for you, for that they may not admit to, pretty much. So you just kind of feel sort of beaten up and weak and kind of sort of bottled up a little bit in this situation. Definitely a very beautiful little ballad in the middle of the album with the Wurlitzer and the piano both sound really beautiful on there, as well as I do also like that vibraphone in the middle gives it a nice kind of cool jazzy feel to it, which I like. The song "Nothing to Find" is definitely another one of my favorites on here. Another incredibly catchy song, I must say. Song, I must say. Like, I think the drums and the bass really do drive the song really well. Like, the rhythm sections on this album, I think, are really impressive in the way they sort of create a nice little driving bed for the songs to make them kind of instantly memorable when you turn them on. And I really like some of the lyrics on here about, like, you played my brother, like, like fire, here and walked him through the rain. I ignored another call, he did the same. And again, like, the instrumentation sounds really nice on here. The Hammond organ, some really nice kind of folky harmonica on the song too. And I also do really like the ending, the way the guitars and the synths kind of bleed into each other, creating just this really amazing hooky sort of end section, just incredible. So I feel this is one album where there are always kind of those special moments in songs where I feel like the instrumentation really does shine through beautifully. And after this we have technically the first single released from this album, as this song was released as like a little 7-inch around Record Store Day earlier this year, called Thinking of a Place, where it was, the 7-inch was divided into parts 1 and 2. One was like 5 minutes and the other was 6. And here we have that song put on this album too, and definitely has a really just the right place and like kind of towards the end of the album, and it's definitely just a very beautiful and really neatly structured kind of song. I like how it's got kind of an unusual music structure because it starts out with a long intro, then like the first verse and chorus, then eventually this long guitar solo, and then we go back into like the other verses and the next chorus, and then eventually the ending of the song. Sort of, it's a little different from most songs would have like a solo and improvisation part like after the first verse and the first chorus and the second verse and the second chorus. So this one has definitely a very interesting sort of musical structure to it, and also that guitar solo that's in the middle of the song, awesome. Like, the guitar tones of the solos on this album, they're not just your standard like kind of two-noted riffs. These are riffs that have a lot of just like complexity and just like a lot of this power and life to them that I do really like. And this song is probably the closest that this album comes to like a love song lyrically, pretty much. But you know, it's nothing too cheesy or self-indulgent or anything like that. Like, actually one that has a very kind of smart message and really does show off Adam Granducio's skills as a storyteller too. Taylor in this like sort of new relationship that like he's involved in, and how it's kind of sort of given him a new kind of outlook on life, pretty much. Much like this song musically and lyrically just feels like a little like journey through the soul, pretty much, which definitely is kind of the whole thing, which is pretty much what this whole album kind of tries to do from front to back pretty much, and does it really well. Really well. Beautiful production on this song. Like, I love the kind of mournful pedal steel, giving the song kind of an alternative country almost kind of vibe. The very kind of and the kind of ethereal backup vocals provided by the duo known as the Dove and Wolf. The Wolf towards the end, and then we also have harmonica, vibraphone, and Celeste. Like, the little instrumental like details is definitely one thing that I definitely do see is like another cool thing about the War on Drugs. They kind of play in the tradition of most kind of rock and roll greats, but still kind of doing enough nuances to kind of separate them from their influence, to kind of help them rise above their influences. After that, we have the song In Chains, which kind of covers similar ground to the song Holding On. It sounds kind of like that song a little bit note-wise and musically, but just a little slower, but definitely one of my favorites on here. I mean, the piano on this song just becomes instantly memorable, and it really adds nice structure for like the rest of the instruments that then eventually come in the song. Play come in the song, and also a song that kind of in contrast with Thinking of a Place, Talking of a Place sort of goes for much more kind of morbid subject, pretty much, where he's kind of hiding from an enemy when something inside him died, and how it's hard to see real clear these days with darkness on his mind. As I stare into the ocean floor, and I wonder where I once was. Was I falling through the air tonight, then crumble into your arms? And sort of wondering in this relationship, like, is this love? Are you sure? Is it something you can control? And sort of concluding how in this situation he just feels like he's in chains, even when everything should be like kind of exactly as it should be, pretty much. And the production on this song also does sound really nice on here too. I mean, I do really like the kind of distorted backup vocals that show up, and like the chorus of the song. The chorus, I feel, is the part where there's really just some true like catharsis to it, which I like a lot. And Adam Producio gives off one of his best vocal performances on the entire album in that part too. So definitely sounds incredible right there. There again, rhythm section on here sounds really nice. The vibraphone was definitely a nice little surprise in the middle. A nice little surprise in the middle, and I also do like that part, like towards the end, where it has like where the drums just sound so huge, and it definitely another really good sense of catharsis right there in the production. The song "Clean Living" is a song that's kind of, more like kind of a ballad type track on the record, kind of in the similar vein as the song "Knocked Down," but Knocked Down, even though this one is kind of a much more energetic kind of instrumental in contrast, pretty much. The bass, I love the bass line on this track is definitely one of the best. I like kind of, the floppy feel of the strings. Like, I can tell that bass riff is on a Hohner bass. It has kind of a Paul McCartney-ish kind of thing going on, which I do really like. And sort of kind of encouraging his new lover to or to show him how she does it, and because he's been looking all night pretty much. which and talking to and sort of telling her, "Go away, come back, show me that you want it. I'm alone at night," and all, because he's got pretty much all this living and no life in this situation. And the instrumental on here definitely does sound very beautiful. Oh, and I forgot to mention, also love the kind of atmospheric use of the baritone sax on this song, and In Chains, it sounds as if it's being played through some sort of effects echo pedal or something like that, making it sound really cool and sound like kind of this little cool electronic type thing that you can't quite tell, where you can't quite tell what it is. I also do like the kind of twinkly guitars in Celeste on this song, Clean Living. And then the album closes with the song You Don't Have to Go, which definitely is a nice little kind of end to the whole story that this album tells, and definitely ends the journey on the most kind of strangely satisfying note, for sure. So, for sure. For sure, and sort of talking about how even though he's had sort of some conflict to deal with, he still is just going to do what he can to put the pieces back together, and sort of telling his significant other that you don't have to go, and I want you to stay, pretty much, and like help me out in this situation. And I do like how the song, it definitely has kind of a similar kind of psychedelic rock feel to it, but also does have a bit of sort of the lilt of like an alternative country song a little bit, and sort of seeing Adam Granduciel kind of channeling his inner Dylan. And of course, just like on the rest of the album, to end the album on the best note, we have this amazing, really cool guitar solo that closes out the song. And then the album ends. So yeah, A Deeper Understanding is just an incredible record. I mean, you could tell I was just kind of like gushing about this album. I love it so much. And which, I kind of feel this way about the last album, Lost in the Dream, a little bit too. But yeah, there aren't like too many moments on this record that I didn't enjoy or anything like that. Even if it's really the production, that draws me into the songs more immediately than the lyrics do. So yeah, definitely gonna give Deeper Understanding a 9 out of 10, pretty much. I mean, so far I probably have one of the highest scores that I've heard of that was given for this album, even though it definitely has been getting really good reviews from other musical publications. But this is just a fantastic record, and I highly recommend you try it out. If you really like their previous record, or if you've been a fan of their older stuff, like their first 2 records too. I don't see how you could, not be just in love with this album. So that's my review of the new War on Drugs record, A Deeper Understanding. I'll see you for episode 180.